Welcome back. Wednesday. That means DFS OG's back in the house once again, talking everything sports. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend, long weekend. I am your host, as always, Beer. Welcome in my boys, Chop, Noto. Let's start with you, buddy. How was the holiday? How things going? We had that epic golf match last night. So we'll talk about that, give our thoughts on that. But how was the holiday, man?
Yeah, holiday was good, and the little town I went to where my grandparents live, they celebrated on Monday. Did you guys do that, or did everyone celebrate on Saturday like normal people?
I celebrated the entire weekend, so Monday was kind of the recovery day from a long weekend. So, yeah, a little bit of everything for me. Chop, how about yourself? How'd the fireworks show go?
Oh, I hate the fireworks. I hate the fireworks. I mean, yeah, they were blasting the fireworks till midnight. I was hoping that they'd stop around 10 or so, but they kept blasting. But it is what it is. Yeah, we did a little brisket on Saturday or on Sunday, and then went on Monday to the pool and had some hot dogs and stuff like that. Just crazy. And then I read the story. I don't know if you guys read the story about the hockey player who died in a fireworks accident this weekend. That was absurd, man. That just goes to show you, man. Just let the professionals do it. Just stay away from the backyard stuff.
Yeah, agreed. So my daughter went to a friend's house. Had never been there. We just kind of met these people. So yeah, sure, go hang out for the day. She comes home later at night. I pick her up. We're talking about it, and she shows me these videos, and they're doing fireworks at home, and I'm watching. And I'm like, why is there a little child lighting off fireworks? Apparently, the little brother was 9 years old. He was the pilot man of the fireworks while the dad sat back and recorded, and the mom's hanging out. Everyone's cheering him on. And I'm like, okay, not going back to that house anytime soon because 9-year-old don't need to be lighting off fireworks. But anyway, chop brisket, I hear. Now, is that like you got a smoker? You're making this brisket, or it's something you bring in out at a restaurant? Like, well, what's happening with the brisket here before we get into
I have a barbecue pit. I want to get a green egg because I keep seeing these things pop up on Twitter. I want to get a green egg, my next big investment, but I just have a barbecue pit. But so it's just regular stuff, but I want to get a green egg because that looks like a hell of a piece of machinery right there.
Yeah, I've heard good things. I have a smoker. I've not yet attempted a brisket. I've done ribs. I've done pork tenderloin. I've done wings. Done pretty much everything but a brisket. So that is definitely on the list. And you're going to get plenty of food takes here from the OGs as we go along. But the plan this week, obviously, talk some NBA Finals. Game 1 in the books did not go so well for my Milwaukee Bucks. Phoenix takes it down, so we'll give our thoughts there. We'll look ahead to Game 2, some strategies, some DFS plays, and kind of preview the rest of the series. We have a big MMA fight coming up this weekend, so we'll talk to our resident MMA expert, Chop, here, his thoughts on the fight this weekend. And then we'll finish our look. Last week we knocked out the NFC team totals. This week we will look at the AFC, gives you our picks over-under on some of those teams. So that's kind of the plan for the week. We are presented by FanDuel, so thank you to them for sponsoring the show. Make sure you guys go and check out all the offerings over at FanDuel. Big tournaments, obviously baseball going on, NBA playoffs, another huge contest for Game 2. Again, we'll give you our thoughts there. That MMA contest as well in the lobby. There's some golf for this weekend. And make sure you go and check out the FanDuel Sportsbook as well. And we will be pulling our lines directly from them. So again, thank you to the folks at FanDuel, who we will have some free rolls, some prizes. We're kind of working some things, so stay patient with us. We will have some contests here, hopefully next week for you guys. But we did challenge you guys to give us a review. We would pick a winner based on those reviews and want to reveal that right now. RotoGrinders ID is DS Modi, DSMODI. Congratulations. You are the winner here of 2 months of free RotoGrinders Premium. So the team will be reaching out to you to get set up. We appreciate the reviews. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Feel free to comment in the comment section and make sure you subscribe as well. We'll be doing these each and every Wednesday. All right, guys, let's get into last night's game. Derek, I want to start with you again. Phoenix looked like the better team. They were the better team going into it. They were the heavy favorites here. Giannis kind of surprisingly goes from doubtful to questionable to game time decision, ends up in the winning lineup in the MVP spot over on FanDuel. So played pretty well, but this does not look like a good matchup for my Bucks. I'm a little more pessimistic. You seem more optimistic. So just quick thoughts here on game one. Yeah,
I mean, a 7-game series is all about adjustments. Everyone seems to be thinking the Suns are just going to roll through the Bucks, but I think Giannis looked good. He had one of those chase down blocks that was clearly that knee was not bothering him at all. The Suns ended up shooting 26 free throws. I think during the regular season, the Bucks allowed the fewest free throws per game. So I don't think that's going to happen any other game moving forward. And I do think Bud's going to end up making some adjustments. Their switching defense just wasn't working. I mean, the Suns quickly figured it out. They just run pick and rolls until Chris Paul or Devin Booker was on, Bobby Portis or Brook Lopez. And then from there, I mean, they were just scoring at will. So I think they're going to make adjustments. And I think, Giannis looked good. Obviously, the Suns won a game that they're supposed to win at home. I'm not overly concerned. I think there's some value on the Bucks right now if you want to bet them either game 2 or on the series.
Yep, and we'll take a look at some of those bets here in a minute. Chop, want to go over to you. Your thoughts here, game 1. Phoenix, Milwaukee, again, didn't go so well for me.
I think it's all right. I think Milwaukee's lost the first game of the last couple of series and bounced back and still won. So I'm okay with that. I'd be super optimistic if I was a Milwaukee guy, just because I didn't even think Giannis would play in the series, or if he did try to play, I thought he'd try to rush back and that he just wouldn't look right doing it. Man, I saw nothing wrong with Giannis last night. So that's a good sign right there, because eventually, Milwaukee they'll right the ship here and they'll make this a series. And I think it'll come down to those last couple games and see where it swings. So I'd be okay taking Milwaukee from this point forward in the series. I think that there's a chance. There's probably pretty good value. And I still think Phoenix wins this thing, but just seeing as how Milwaukee started off the last couple series, I still think that there's a shot there.
All right, so let's stick around the FanDuel Sportsbook. Again, make sure you guys go and check FanDuel out. Very easy to use sportsbook here. So, Chop, we got Phoenix minus 300 at this point, Milwaukee plus 240. So, interested in putting some giblets there on Milwaukee plus 240. You like that value? Is that a good enough price to take a bite out of?
240 is pretty good. Yeah, I think so. I think it's just one game, and this is a long way to go. So, yeah, the plus 240 is pretty good. I would take that one.
Derek, your thoughts there? You seem to be optimistic here as well. Plus 240, a big enough price to jump on.
Yeah, like Chop said, I do think the Suns could still win this pretty easily, but I do think there's some value at the plus 240. The interesting one to me, I was looking at the NBA Finals MVP odds. Chris Paul minus 140, Devin Booker plus 550. Now, are we just assuming that if the Suns win, they're going to give the Lifetime Achievement Award to Paul, even if Booker has the better numbers?
I think Booker's going to have to drastically outproduce Paul to get that. If they're even within the same stratosphere, I think they are going to give it to Chris Paul. We know how that works. So, unfortunately, I think that's how it's going to play out. But the way DeAndre Ayton played last night, if he's going to, threaten 20-20 every night, he may pull down the MVP. But we'll see. I think those are some interesting odds there as well. Game 2, we have Phoenix minus 5.5. So about where it was last night, a little bit higher. That total sitting at 220. And one of the fun things over at FanDuel, they have these things called odds boosts. If you haven't been in the sports book over there, just things where they boost up the odds for you. Just like it says, they have one for that game 2, 60 or more total points scored in the first quarter of game 2 at plus 320. So you think these teams are going to get out to a hot start, plus 320, pretty good odds on that. So another fun bet over there at FanDuel. All right, let's look ahead here in DFS. Again, we saw Giannis in that MVP spot. Obviously, in FanDuel, you have the MVP, the star, the pro, and 2 utility spots. So, Derek, how can we attack this game too? Obviously, a lot of people are going to go to Giannis in that spot once again. Highest ceiling by far of any of these players in this series. So is that the right way to go? Can we mix it up a little bit? We've seen Chris Paul have some massive games. You talked Booker. Or is it Giannis? Save some money. How can we get different from the other, how many people we got in this thing? 83,000 entries. So how do we make ourselves unique in this thing?
Yeah, I mean, Chop's the guy to ask here. I started playing DFS with cash games and single entries, so my mind just naturally gravitates towards the chalk, towards what everyone else is doing. Chop's obviously won the Millie Maker, just great tournament player. So we got to get his advice and then circle back to me.
Chop, he put the spotlight on you. Big the Millie Maker twice, right? Twice, Chop.
Terrible. A lot of pressure there.
So this tournament, $700,000 prize pool, $9.99 entry fee. So, room for everybody to jump in this thing. Chop, 83,000 entries. We know there's a lot of teams are similar in this. It's tough to get unique here. Is there a way, though, that we can find uniqueness here in this game, too?
Yeah, I mean, there is. In game one, the big tournament was split down to where everybody got $11,000. I think it was I don't know. It was a huge it might have been like $250,000 first place or something I forget what it was. Anyway, it was chopped. And the way you got to get different on FanDuel is you're going to chop it unless you take a shot and a risk with those top two positions, your MVP and your star players. You just got to, if you don't want to, like, more than likely, it's going to chop, because more than likely Giannis is going to be your top scorer most of the time. And, Chris Paul or Devin Booker or Chris Middleton are going to follow that in that second spot. That's more than likely the outcome, and it's going to chop most of the times. If you want to be different, you take a shot on somebody else in the big spot, leave out Giannis and maybe even leave out Chris Paul or whatever, and take a shot on DeAndre Ayton would be perfect, except for most of the time he's not going to outscore Giannis, but that one time he does, then you can win it by yourself. Something like that it's that top two spots. That's where you gotta be willing to burn your money in the showdown on FanDuel. You got to be willing to lose it if you want to win that thing outright.
Yeah, that's it. You got to play to win. I mean, not 11,000's not too shabby on a $7 entry or whatever it was. So. Most likely these things are going to split. It's just the nature of the beast. It's one game. It's 80,000 people. It's very tough to come up with a lineup that only you are going to have. Another way to do that is obviously leave salary on the table, and not $500, $1,000, a couple $1,000, but obviously you're taking away from your floor and your ceiling with limiting some choices there. But that is a way to try to build a unique lineup as well. So make sure you guys go and jump in that contest. Again, 700,000. Total prizes, 150,000 the first. If you are able to come up with that unique lineup, 150K on the line for you. Not too bad. So we've kind of looked ahead already. I think you guys are optimistic on Milwaukee making this a series. We know they're a very good home team. That stadium's going to be fired up when they do go back. We'll see if they can steal game 2 here. It's kind of the goal is take one of the two and make those adjustments. So any other thoughts here on the finals before we kind of transition over to a little MMA talk? Chop. Any more thoughts here on the NBA?
Nah, I was just looking at the schedule last night, and there's going to be a lot of space in between these next. Not that this next game is on Thursday, but then they're going to get 3 days off to travel, and then they're going to get another 3 days off before the next game. So lots of time for Giannis to recover and get even healthier. And I just think this thing is going to be. If I was going to put it into segments, I think we're 2-2. However we get there, I think we're 2-2 after 4 games.
So, and if you think Phoenix is going to win this game, Milwaukee's going to make a comeback, maybe wait on betting this plus 240, you'll get an even better line. If you think they can go down 0-2 and make a comeback, which they've done before, 0-2 to Brooklyn, and we were all writing them off. And I know there were some injuries there, but it has been done. So, Derek, final thoughts here on the finals before we move on.
Yeah, I was just looking through the game log. Chris Middleton, 26 shot attempts in game 1. So maybe that's a way to get different with your MVP spot. And Drew Holiday, by far the worst of the 6 main guys. Both teams have a big 3. And he was quiet. So I think he'll be pretty, unpopular if you want to get a little bit different as well.
There you go. All right, MMA Chop. We have a big fight. This is the trilogy, correct? This is the third fight in this installment. So I'm not a big MMA guy. I'm not going to pretend to be. I'm interested, though, in learning, getting some knowledge here. So why don't you quickly hit on the fight, what we got going on, and any DFS implications here as well?
Yeah, so this weekend we come back off of a break, July 4th break, and we got Poirier versus McGregor, number 3. That's going to be the fight this week. It's going to be good. The rest of the card looks okay. There's some okay, but this is definitely the one that – and I'm kind of like torn on this one. Like, there's a piece of me that, yeah, I want to see it. I want to see what happens here, the third. But then there's another piece that says, man, these guys are kind of old, and I don't think they're really champions, as long as assuming Khabib is definitely retired. Maybe somebody can sneak in there, but I don't know. They're kind of like gatekeepers right now. So I don't know what to think, but I think it should be entertaining. McGregor took the first one a long time ago. Poirier took the second one by knockout just recently. So this is going to be the rubber match. And I'm torn on it because I'm looking at Twitter. I'm looking at some social media. McGregor's up in his game this time. He's not just sitting back and being Mr. Nice Guy. He's got some dirty things he's saying out there. So kind of reminds me of the old McGregor, but does he have the old McGregor inside the octagon? I guess that's the question. The old McGregor would beat Poirier, I think, most of the time. But I don't know, man. Maybe that ship has sailed. So I think I'm leaning Poirier here. It's the FanDuel odds -122 on Poirier, even money on Conor McGregor. Those odds, that's basically a coin flip. So I'm going to say that Poirier's got more opportunities to win. Let's put it like that. I think if we're going into 5 rounds, Poirier's got the conditioning to hang. I mean, I've seen him hang in there recently, some long, grueling matches and outlast his opponent. So I'm good with him. Going the distance, winning by decision. He obviously can knock him out. He knocked him out first round last time out. So he's got more avenues. I think McGregor has one big avenue here, and that's the knockout early. And it could happen. It could definitely. He's very accurate with his shots, and he could rattle him quick. And Poirier hasn't been known. He's been known to not have a great chin in the past. So he's got that avenue, but Poirier's got more outs here. So I'm leaning Dustin Poirier right now to win the third one, the rubber match.
All right, he's sitting at -126 right now. Poirier, that is. McGregor -102. And there's a lot of ways you can bet this fight over on FanDuel. So that's the easy, the line on who's going to win. But they have bets on method of victory, KO, points, submissions. They have round betting, which guy's going to win in what round, how the fight will end, what round will the fight end. So a lot of ways, along with the rest of the card here. As well. They also have something called parlay insurance, which is always interesting, where if you put a parlay together, one of those legs fails, they're going to give you up to $25 back in site credit. So FanDuel Sportsbook always giving you things like that. So if you are an MMA guy, if you're not, you haven't bet the fight game, there's plenty of ways to do that. Derek, let's get over to you here. Thoughts on the big fight here tonight? Any strong leans in the betting market? Who's going to win this thing? Your quick thoughts here.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of parlays, I always thought sportsbook should, do something if you miss all legs of the parlay, because that's more impressive than missing just one.
I'd be a billionaire if they offered that, man.
But yeah, so it sounds like this is the first weekend that Vegas is really truly open. They're going to have full fans for the first time since COVID. So I do think the crowd's going to be on McGregor's side. Obviously, he's one of the more popular fighters. And I think that is going to help us lead to a much better odds on Poirier. You saw when McGregor fought Mayweather in that exhibition boxing match. I mean, it was close to a pick 'em at one point because so much public money was coming in on McGregor. So obviously don't know a ton about MMA, about UFC, but I just think there's value on Poirier. And that's kind of my thoughts on it. I'm excited to watch it, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, I might have to tune into this. I mean, McGregor's one of those guys you just want to see what happens. So he is a draw. So I may have to jump in here as well, but definitely going to be digging around here in the sports book, looking at some things. Always more fun when you have a little money on the line in some of these fights. And I agree with you. I think as we get closer, he's the big name. I think you'll see those odds kind of even out between those two. So plenty of ways to attack this fight. So that's our look at MMA. Now we will transition over to the NFL, continue our look at some of the futures here in the FanDuel Sportsbook. Again, last week, if you missed our show, we talked about the NFC teams over under on their season win totals, kind of gave you analysis on each team. Now we're going to go over the AFC teams and give you our picks and some of our best bets there. So Let's get into that here. I got a transition on my page. And bye. And all right, so we're going to start with the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously been one of the more successful teams here over the last few seasons. We continue to see Lamar Jackson evolve. Pretty much the whole crew back intact. They bring in Rashad Bateman in round 1 at wide receiver. Bring back Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins we saw really take a leap towards the end of the year. So, Derek, we'll start with you. FanDuel has this at 11 for the Ravens. Minus 120 on the under, plus 100 on the over. Baltimore, Derek, over under 11 wins. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, the first half of last season, everyone was saying, oh, they figured out Lamar Jackson, and then they turned it on in the second half of the season. They still have a good defense, still like Harbaugh as the coach, and their division doesn't scare me all that much. I know a lot of people like the Browns, but I'm just not buying them as much as everyone else. Cincinnati has a pretty low total. And then Pittsburgh not expected to be as good either. So give me the over on 11.
All right, I'm going to go the other way. I don't like paying the minus 120 here. I think they're going to be good. I don't know that they're going to be this good. And I do think Cleveland is a much improved team. We saw that. I think Cincinnati will be improved. Pittsburgh still to be determined. We'll talk all those teams here as we move along, obviously. But 11 seems a little bit too high for me. So, again, I don't like paying the minus 120 here. I think teams maybe have figured out Lamar Jackson a little bit. It's going to be an interesting make or break type season for him. Obviously, very dynamic with his legs, and you're never going to completely shut him down, but he has to evolve as a passer. They're going to have to get more in the passing attack. One of the best rushing attacks that we've seen in NFL history, to be frank, but 11 seems a little bit too high for me, so I'm going to go under. Chop, break the tie here. Over under 11 wins for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really solid number. I'm gonna go. I really think there's no push, button. I guess I think that's really close. So I'll go with the over. I think having Dobbins in there for more snaps can only help you over having to split with Mark Ingram, and I think the defense is going to be a little bit better. So I'll take the over. I think if they get there, they barely get there. If they don't get there, it's because they got 10 wins. They're just right at that number. So, but I'll take the over just for the fact that maybe Lamar surprises us, man. Maybe he and they picked up a little extra receiving help for the boys too. So maybe he surprises us and he kind of makes some adjustments now after they made adjustments to him last year. So I'll take the over.
And I think he is capable as a passer. A lot of people just he's a runner only. The guy can pass. He has that upside. It's just going to see, can he get there? Can he realize the upside and can they expand on that passing game? I do think Bateman's going to help tremendously. We know Andrews, one of the best tight end position, and Hollywood, a home run waiting to happen. So the weapons are certainly there. It's not a strong under for me. I just think that number a little bit too high. So another team that really took a big step last season, sitting at that same 11, the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, talk about quantum leaps. This guy was phenomenal last season, MVP candidate. Stephon Diggs comes in, makes an instant impact, leading the league in pretty much every receiving category last season. So, again, another team that has all the pieces chopped. The quarterback's in place. The offense looks good. The running game may be a bit of a question with Singletary and Moss, but the coaching is fantastic. The defense is there. As this year Buffalo gets over that Kansas City hurdle, but let's start with the 11 wins. You're going over or under here on Buffalo?
I'm going under, and I know the over is very popular with this team. This is everybody's I don't even want to say sleeper. They're not even sleeper anymore to get maybe even to get to the Super Bowl. Everybody loves a little Josh Allen and everything that's going on there, but I'm gonna go under. I think there could be some regression here, and they're really dependent on Josh Allen. So anything happens to him for a stretch during the year, injury-wise, just a few weeks or whatever, then this total could be cooked. So I'm going under on Buffalo. I think they're going to come back down to earth a little bit this year offensively, and Josh Allen come back down a little bit. And I don't think the defense is going to make enough strides to make up for it. So I'm going under.
I'm going to go over on this one. I think about the other side. In 17 games, you're telling me they got to lose 7 games for me to not win this. I could see some regression going the other way as well, but them losing 7 games, that would take something catastrophic happening. You look at this division, pretty weak up and down. New England is no longer the cream of the crop there. I think Miami will be much improved. We're going to talk about them here momentarily, but I do think that they get to this 11 kind of feels like a good number. I get a push there. I just don't see this team losing 7 games. So I'm going to go the over here with Buffalo. So Derek, your turn. Break the tie here. Over 11, under 11, Buffalo Bills.
I'm going over as well, bring up the division. And then one of the sneaky pickups in the offseason, they're bringing in Trubisky. I know he's not great, but if something happens to Allen, he can certainly fill in. He's a mobile quarterback, played in the league a long time. So give me the over. I just don't see him losing that many games.
All right, next team up, Cincinnati. We spoke on them just a minute ago, sitting at 6.5 here in the FanDuel Sportsbook, minus 140 on the under, Derek, plus 120 on the over. 6.5 wins for Cincinnati, over or under.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun team. Burrow sounds like he's completely healthy. Looked good with Higgins and Boyd last season. Bring in Jamar Chase, who we played with in college. And Mixon's like going up the draft boards pretty quick. So I like the offense, hate the defense. I don't think the division's as tough as it was a year ago. So give me the over with a little bit better odds.
Yeah, I'm with you on the over here. I think they're going to luck box into some wins. I think they're going to find themselves in a lot of shootouts. I think they're going to be very fantasy friendly. And you named all the main characters there. Love the combination of Burrow and Jamar Chase. Hopefully he's healthy, 100% recovered from that injury, Burrow, that is last season. But I just think this team's good enough and going to be improved enough to win 7 or more games, we'll say. So it'll be close. I don't think they're going to come out and be a 10-win team, but I do think they go over the 6.5 number. Chop, Cincinnati, over under 6.5.
Man, you guys are stealing my thunder here. I like the over too. I like the over. I think the assuming Joe Burrow comes in by week 1, ready to go after that bad knee injury, offense should be really sharp. Good receivers, man, and Joe Mixon, good running back. Just need a little help on the offensive line, but they kind of addressed that a little bit. So maybe they're in good shape there. The defense, it can't be much worse than it was last year. So I think they can hit this over here.
All right, we'll stay in that same division with the Cleveland Browns. Again, really took a leap forward with Baker Mayfield last season. You get Odell Beckham back, hopefully healthy, team up with Jarvis Landry once again. We know that running game very dynamic with Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and the defense was much improved here as well, led by Myles Garrett. So, Chop, we'll stay with you here. Big number on Cleveland, over under 10.5, little juice on the under at minus 115, minus 105. On the over. Where are we going with Cleveland?
Man, this is everybody's darling right here, I think. So, I guess I'm going to go with everybody else, though, and say the over because they put it down at 10.5 instead of 11. At 11, I'd really be thinking about it. At 10.5, I think they can get there. Odell, I don't know how big of a addition that is because some would say they were better without him almost. I don't know why, but I don't know why that happened, but they did look good. I think they know where their bread is buttered. It's in the running game with the offensive line. I don't think they're going to get away from that too much. The big thing for this team, forget about all that. I think this defense could be really, really, I don't want to say elite, but they're going to – every year there's a 1 or 2 defenses that steps up and really surprises you out of nowhere. And I think this could be one of them this year that really takes a step forward. So I think they're going to hit that 10.5.
Derek, I'm torn on this one. I don't have a strong – I'm going to go to you here. This number feels right where it should be, in my opinion. So I'm going to go to you while I think this one out because no clear path for me here with Cleveland.
Yeah, I like their offensive line. I like their running backs. I don't think their defense is as good as everyone else, I guess. They were 25th in total DVOA last year. I don't trust Baker Mayfield. I think he's a pretty average quarterback at this stage. And if you look at their point differential last year, -11 despite 11-5 record. So they were winning a lot of close games. I'm taking under. I'm not buying or drinking the Kool-Aid.
I'm going to go under as well. It's one of those, I think the deciding factor is if this is everyone's darling, everyone wants to bet the over. I want to go on the other side of that and go against the public. So I do think they're going to be good. I think it'll be very close here, but I'm going to go under on this number here with Cleveland. So moving on, Denver Broncos up next. Number sitting at 8.5, Derek. Big juice on the over at -130 +110. on the under. Is Aaron Rodgers factor into this? Speaking of the match the other night, but Denver Broncos 8.5 over or under.
Yeah, 8.5. That seems high. They're going to have a quarterback battle. Even if Rodgers doesn't come, they got Locke and Bridgewater there. The defense wasn't as good as it usually was last year, and pretty tough division. They got 4 games against KC and the Chargers. I have the under right now, but that's obviously contingent on them not picking up Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it's one of those, if you're sure that he's going there, I think you hammer the over here. But I agree, the 8.5 seems a little bit too high. You mentioned a division that's tough. Even the Raiders, I think, are going to be a pretty good team here. So that's 6 games that is tough sledding, especially the Chargers and the Chiefs. So 8.5 seems a little bit too high. 7.5 obviously is a number I would have figured for Denver. So I got to go under here on this number and take the plus 110. Chop. Aaron Rodgers going here, 8.5. Your thoughts here on Denver Broncos?
Yeah, if you got some inside information on Rodgers getting there, then you can make a killing on this one. But assuming, and I think it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater. I still think Bridgewater's probably an upgrade on Drew Lock right now, but I'm going to take the under 2. I think the defense is going to look pretty decent, but man, that offense is gonna. I don't know. Teddy Bridgewater is okay. He's a nice game manager, but I'm gonna take the under also.
Yeah, I think it will be Teddy, and you can kind of almost look back to Carolina. Like they're going to have some fantasy friendly guys. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. I think you're going to see the same here. Cortland Sutton returning that lineup. Jerry Jeudy taking another step. Noah Fant, a phenomenal tight end. Javonte Williams now in the steed of running backs with Melvin Gordon. So I do think this offense will be pretty decent, but I think that quarterback play will kind of hold him back enough where Teddy will be okay. Not going to be a guy that goes out there and leads them to victory. So that number just feels too high again. All right, next team up for us, the Houston Texans, the lowest projected on the board. 4 wins here, minus 125 on the over, Chop. But what do we get? Plus 105 on that under. So this is down in your neck of the woods here. We have the whole Deshaun Watson saga. They bring in Davis Mills in the 3rd round, I believe it was, to potentially be a quarterback, a running back graveyard. David Johnson, Phillip Lindsay, Mark Ingram. I think Duke Johnson is still there. No Nuke Hopkins, no Will Fuller. So this team's going to be bad. Are they going to be 4 wins bad, Chop? Over under 4 on the Houston Texans.
Well, I'm making this assuming Deshaun Watson's not playing this year. I'm going under the 4. And they are going to be super bad. And not only are they going to be bad, but their schedule's tough. And I'm looking at the schedule, and basically, let's say they could split with Jacksonville. And I'm not even sure they can do that. But if they split with Jacksonville, okay, you got 1 win. The only other team I see on that schedule that they can really beat is the Jets, and I'm not even sure they can beat the Jets. So, but other than that, that schedule is tough, man. They got nothing but quality teams they're facing. So, no, I'm taking the under here.
I see Derek shaking his head. He's counting 2 wins for his Jags here against Houston. So, I'm going under here as well. I think a lot of people are going to look at this number and be like, they got to win 4 games. I mean, that's easy. So, I think you're going to see a lot of people attacking the over on this, and I don't know that they win more than 2 games. So I'm with you, Chop. This is going to be a historically bad team on both sides of the ball. I don't see Watson playing here, even if he is reinstated. Does he even want to play for this team? So you still have all that drama. A strong under here for me on the Texans. Derek, 3 for 3, or are you more optimistic here on Houston?
I mean, the road for my Jags to hit their 6.5 is to pick up 2 wins against the Texans. So I'm with you guys. You mentioned their losses on offense, and no J.J. Watt either. They still had one of the worst defensive teams last year, and it's only going to be worse. So, yeah, 3 for 3.
All right, let's move on to the Indianapolis Colts. We saw Phillip Rivers hang him up. Carson Wentz brought over here to be the new quarterback for the Colts. We saw Jonathan Taylor really emerge as that lead running back. Weapons are there for Carson Wentz. The offensive line, maybe the best in the game. And the defense, we'll see. They've shown improvements at time, but we're sitting at 9.5 here on the Colts, Derek. But big juice on the over. Got to pay minus 150 to get that 9.5 plus 125 on the under. So what are you doing here with the Colts? 9.5 over under.
Don't love paying the juice, but I really like this team. Love Frank Reich, and I think Carson Wentz is an upgrade. We heard about, Wentz's struggles last year, partly because Frank Reich left, and they have a connection both on and off the field. Sounds like they're both really religious, and that kind of stuff. So their defense was awesome last year. I think they finished 7th in total DVOA, and I like both sides of the ball. Give me the over.
Yeah, I really like this team as well. In fact, going to look up some odds on them. Plus 2,500 to win the Super Bowl. I don't hate that. AFC plus 1,300. So I really think you're going to see Carson Wentz bounce back here. I mean, behind this line, we talked about the weapons. T.Y. Hilton, Michael Pittman another year in the league, Paris Campbell healthy. We know they always have good tight ends. That line play, Taylor. I think this team's going to be very good this season. So, again, don't like paying that minus 150. I'm there with you on that one. But I think this is a team that's going to be very good. So I don't even hate a little sprinkle on some of those futures here in the FanDuel Sportsbook either. So over for me as well. Chop, Indy, 9.5, over or under.
Tough schedule outside of a couple division teams, but tough schedule. But, man, I love this team so much. I think Carson Wentz has a huge bounce back year. Just everything about him I like. So I'm going over, even though it's a very difficult schedule, but I'm taking the over too.
All right, moving on to Derek's Jacksonville Jaguars, and we'll get to him here in a minute. We're going to let Chop have the floor here. Number set at 6.5, and big changes in Jacksonville. Obviously bringing in Urban Meyer to be the new head coach. Number 1 draft pick, Trevor Lawrence, also snagged Travis Etienne in the first round. Weapons galore at the wide receiver position. They bring in Marvin Jones, Chark, Laviska Shenault. So, Chop, it seems like they're moving in the right direction. I think defense is still going to be a concern, but offensively, a lot of young players that were very good collegiate players, a good coach that was a good collegiate coach. Can all of this transition to the NFL? Let's not forget Tim Tebow in the house as well here.
Oh, there you go.
That could push him over that 6.5 on its own. But so a lot of changes here, Chop. Do you think this is going to work? Is Urban Meyer's game plan going to transition to the NFL?
I think they're going to be improved. I think that they got a nice young team for the future. But, man, okay, they could probably pick up 2 of those wins real quick against Houston, and so there's some things to like about them, but 7 wins still seems like a lot for me given their coach. Okay, that's the one thing that really I think sets them back. Now I may be wrong here. Maybe Urban Meyer proves me wrong, but I just don't see him. I don't even know if he can last a full season here. I don't know what he's doing out there, but because of the coaching, I'm going to take the under. I'm not sold on Urban Meyer being a good coach, period, much less a good NFL coach right now. So I'm taking the under.
I don't want to rain on Derek's parade, but I'm going under here as well. I do think they're going to be improved. I think they're going to be competitive. I just think this is more of a long-term rebuild. I do think Trevor Lawrence is going to be good. Is he going to be, year one, Justin Herbert or even an Andrew Luck? That I have some questions about. So I think it's just going to take time. I think they're doing it the right way, but I also have some concerns here with Urban Meyer. So adding all of that together, I think the under is the play here. But future's bright, Derek. Not all rain here for the Jags. Now, your team, your floor, a lot of questions here. Coaching, new offense. Can they get to that 6.5?
I have no idea what to expect, but for the first time in a long time, I'm excited to be a Jaguars fan. And for that reason, I just got to, I'm obliged to bet the over. So I'll take the over, not putting my hard-earned money on my own team because that's just asking for trouble. But, give me the over for the purposes of this show.
All right, moving on to the defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. 12.5, the number here, Derek. So the highest number that we are going to see, plus 100 on that over, minus 120 here on the under. So we saw Kansas City really struggle in that Super Bowl against that Tampa Bay defense, but bringing back all of these weapons on offense, Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey, another year for CEH, a defense that I think was improved towards the end of last season. So clearly one of the favorites to win the entire thing. 12.5 though on the wins. What do you got, over or under?
It's hard to see them losing 5 games. For me, complacency is really the only thing that's going to keep them from that number. So I'll bet the over. But, winning a ton of games every single year, maybe they just lose focus a little bit during the regular season. But still, give me the over.
I agree with you completely. I think the one thing, though, that Super Bowl loss is going to sting. So I don't think they're going to be as complacent. If they had won the Super Bowl, okay, maybe they cruise in some games. But I think that hunger is there. Travis Kelce's getting older. This whole crew can't stay together forever. They got to get it done here sooner rather than later. So I do think they go in this season on a mission. It's a big number. I think most people probably would take the over here, but I think it's the right play with the Chiefs. Chop, 3 for 3, or are you going under here on this 12.5 on Kansas City?
Not only am I going over, I say if they stay healthy, they're going to make a push to go undefeated. And it's going to be much harder this year with a bigger schedule, but I think you hit it on the head. They got a very bad taste in their mouth from what happened to them in the Super Bowl. So they got off that real high pedestal they were on after all the success they've had. I think they addressed the thing that cost them the Super Bowl, was the offensive line, no doubt about it. They remade that thing. I think it's going to be a pretty strong unit. Mahomes is going to wing it around. Like, he's just going to do whatever. They've upgraded their wide receiving core by getting rid of guys who I thought were holding, like Sammy Watkins gone, and you can now play more Mecole Hardman, which is an upgrade for you. So I think the offense is upgraded. We haven't even seen, even vaguely, the first baby crawl from Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year. He was bad last year. He's going to be much better this year behind a better offensive line. Defense will hold its own. This team's going to make a push for like 15, 16 wins.
All right, well, there's a few ways that we could attack this here, Chop. So FanDuel does have under the season specials tab. We're going to get to your undefeated thing here in a minute, but best overall regular season record, Kansas City plus 450. So that is one way to attack it. Some of the other favorites there, Tampa Bay plus 600, Buffalo plus 1,000. I know you are down on both of those teams, so that could be one way to attack this. They also have a bet. Will the Kansas City Chiefs go 17-0 in the 21-22 regular season? No, minus 5,000, plus 2,700 on yes, Chop. So 27-1. Are you laying that bet? Are you feeling that confident here that they can go undefeated?
Now, it's a shame they gave us a 17-game season this year, because now it's going to be like now the Miami Dolphins with the popping the champagne when all that. I'm so sick of that. Like, They just got a free pass now, because it'll be hard for anybody to ever go 17-0. But if they stay healthy, and health is a big thing, and then you got to worry about those last couple of games of the year. Are they even going to mean anything for Kansas City if they're like have everything locked up by then? You got to worry about all that stuff. But I think it's worth it, because like I've heard Mahomes already in the offseason say we can go undefeated, and if he's already got that mindset, that's you're already kind of like a 1 foot in the door right there, because just having that mindset means you're hungry to get there. So there's no better way to shake off a huge Super Bowl loss than to just go ahead and shut everybody up and run the table and win everything every single game. So I throw some giblets down there on the yes. It'll go undefeated.
Yeah, I don't hate going on that 27-1 and then hitting the plus 450 for best record even harder to kind of hedge. They don't go undefeated, but they still have a hell of a year. You're still hitting on 4.5-1 on that best record. So a lot of ways that you could play this here, along with that 12.5 on their team total. A very interesting team, obviously, heading here into the 21 season. So next up for us, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. I mentioned I think they're going to be an improved team this season. Vegas and the FanDuel Sportsbook do not agree with me, though. 6.5 on the total here for Vegas, Chop. Big juice on the over, though, at minus 145, plus 125 on the under. What are we doing with the Raiders here? Over or under 6.5 wins?
Yeah, they just they're never great, but Gruden has always marched out a decent team. Like, they're competitive and they win games. I don't think they're going to win. So 6.5 is pretty low in this particular season. That means 7-10. Will they go 7-10? Well, They were like a really terrible last 30 seconds last year away from making the playoffs in that I guess it was that Dolphins game. They had that game wrapped up and they could have made the playoffs right there. But so 7-10, I think that's definitely doable. So I'll take the over.
Yeah, I like the over here. Clearly, I hate paying that juice on it. I wouldn't mind it sitting at 7 at -110, but I do think they're going to be a better football team than that. Have always been competitive. You're right. They kind of shoot themselves in the foot, little things that cost them wins here or there. But I think another year in the Gruden system, I think Derek Carr, the hate kind of goes too far. We'll see if we get a step from Henry Ruggs here. They bring in Kenyon Drake, who they're talking about playing at wide receiver. Darren Waller, one of the best at the tight end position. Defensively, I think there's question marks. And don't forget, this is a potential landing spot for Aaron Rodgers as well. This was on his short list of teams. So maybe you get in early here. I believe in them as is. Now they had Aaron Rodgers. They easily go over this number. So this is one I feel pretty strong about. I'm going over here on the Raiders. Derek, thoughts here? Over 6.5 or under 6.5 for the Las Vegas Raiders?
I'll go against you guys and take the under. They were one of the more overperforming teams last year, 8-8, negative 44 point differential. Darren Waller is really the only guy that I feel good about on this team. Yeah, I mean, I like Gruden. And speaking of Hard Knocks, I think this was announced after our show last week, but the Cowboys, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, that should be intriguing. Chop's got to be excited about that one. So we'll see the inner workings of his Dallas Cowboys. So, Chop, you excited for some Hard Knocks?
No, I want our secrets. I want our secrets to stay in house. I'd rather them not be out there in the public eye.
All right, moving on. We're going to the Los Angeles Chargers up next. Their total sitting at 9.5. Juice on the under here, Derek, at -135, +110 on the over. One of those teams we talked about, just like the Raiders. They always just find a way to, whether it's injuries or stabbing their quarterback the first game of the year and sending him to the IR. But Justin Herbert was fantastic last season. We know Keenan Allen, a monster. Austin Eckler, we'll see if he can stay healthy. So the pieces are certainly there offensively. Defense, they get some guys returning. Derwin James should be back in that lineup. So I like the overall prospects for this team. What are your thoughts here? Over, under 9.5 on the Chargers.
Yeah, for the longest time, we thought it was Phillip Rivers being the one to shoot themselves in the foot. But, yeah, it's just a team thing. I don't know what it is. You mentioned them stabbing their quarterback. It turned out to be the best part of their season. I mean, best part, Justin Herbert was awesome. So I like their offense. I think they're going to be good. You mentioned Derwin James. If he can stay healthy, I think they have a shot to go pretty far this year. So I will take the over.
I'm going to agree with you here. I like this team. Obviously, you have to deal with Kansas City in that division, so that's a tough 2 games there. But I think Herbert was good enough. One of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen at the position, and the weaponry is there, like I mentioned. No more Anthony Lynn either. I think that kind of held them back a little bit. So new coaching regime, the players around here offensively and defensively, I like this over here. So over for me. Chop, Chargers, over under 9.5.
I'm going over, and I like it a lot. I like this one quite a bit. Is like looking at their schedule, there's really the 2 big slip-ups that could happen are the 2 Kansas City games. Outside of that, a game at Washington is going to be tough. But other than those games, and at Baltimore, but other than that, all these other games are very winnable, and I think they could be favorites in all of them. But I just like the team also in general, they're going to have such a huge turnaround on the offensive line based on what they did in the draft and the free agency. So that was the big thing that hurt them last year. So they're going to be much improved on the offensive line. The defense, we didn't even see Derwin James. He's the most one of the most explosive secondary guys in football, and we haven't really seen him for a couple years. He's been hurt. If he can just get healthy, they're going to be in good shape. But even if he's not healthy, even if he does get hurt again, they made some moves in the draft. Asante Samuel Jr., who I think is a very sharp cornerback. They're just going to be a much better team. And let's just hope Herbert's wasn't a fluke year last year. And if he can keep building off that, they're going to smoke that 9.5 wins.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're all big proponents of that. And some of the other odds for them real quick, plus 3,200 to win the Super Bowl. Again, Kansas City is going to be the major roadblock on any of these bets, but plus 1,700 to win the AFC here. in the FanDuel Sportsbook. So not terrible numbers there. Pretty decent odds here on the Chargers. Let's move on to another team I'm pretty excited about is the Miami Dolphins. Their number sitting at 9.5 here. Juice on the under, the -135, +115 on the over. So, Chop, we'll stay with you. A team we saw kind of take steps. I like the coaching. I think Tua, the big question mark. Do we get the Tua we saw at Alabama? Do we get the guy that we saw last season dealing with some injuries, splitting time with Ryan Fitzpatrick? But the pieces are there. The defense continues to improve. Are you as optimistic as me here? Miami, over under 9.5.
10-7 is what they need to be. 10-7. They've like overachieved the last couple of years. They've looked a lot better than what you would think, given their talent. And now they're starting to actually get the talent in place. So it's going to be a good one. I don't like the 2 games against New England this year. I think New England is going to be really tough. You know, they got to travel to Tampa Bay. They've got some Buffalo comes to town, so there's some tough games in there. Can they get to 10 wins out of 10-7? I'm going to say yeah, just because they're a good coach, improving roster. This would be a lock for me if they had shipped off Tua to get Deshaun Watson and Deshaun played. Like that was one of the things earlier in the offseason that might happen. That didn't happen, so we're depending on Tua here to step up and be good, but got him a little help at receiver. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to go over this.
Yeah, I am on the over. Clearly, I like the weaponry. Again, Tua's the worry here. Can he take that next step? Because he is surrounded by weapons. You mentioned the additions at wide receiver. They bring in Will Fuller. They draft his college teammate, Jalen Waddle, as the first receiver off the board with a number 6 pick. So, and Mike Gesicki, another year in that offense as well. Myles Gaskin looked good as the running back. Even if he wasn't the guy, they got some guys behind him that were productive, and a big fan of Brian Flores and his coaching. So I think there's a lot of reasons to be high in this team. So over for me here on that number. Derek, over under 9.5 on the Miami Dolphins.
I like the over as well. I think Tua deserves a little bit of a pass. Rookie season, coming off a big injury at Alabama. You mentioned Brian Flores. That's actually one of my favorite bets on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Coach of the Year, plus 1,400. I think if they can win, 11 games, I think he's going to be in the mix. So, give me the over.
Yeah, I like that bet a lot as well. I think he's one of the best coaches out there right now. So, 14-1 on that. I'm going to put that on my list for sure here in the FanDuel Sportsbook. All right, let's move on to New England. We just talked about them. Their number sitting at 9, Derek. Juice on the over at -135, plus 115 on the under. So, the story, bring in Mac Jones. We'll see. Is it Cam Newton? Is it Mac Jones at the quarterback position? You got N'Keal Harry requesting a trade. I don't know what that guy's done to allow himself to request the trade or anyone that's going to want him. But the point is they were a little disappointing last season. The defense was still solid. Can they turn things around here in 2021, Derek? Over, under 9 wins for the New England Patriots.
This was one of the more surprising numbers when I first pulled them up. You mentioned the quarterback battle, Mac Jones, Cam Newton, the defense. I'm not as sold on as I was in years past. I don't love the receivers. So I'm going to take the under just because I like the Bills a lot in the over, and I like the Dolphins in that same division.
Yeah, I'm in lockstep with you. I like those teams a lot in that division. I just think this team's going to struggle offensively in that defense. You're right. Is it the legit top 3, top 5 defense we've seen in years past? I don't think so. So Belichick is going to will them to a few wins. I don't know that they get to this 9 number. So we get plus 115 on it. On that under, I'm with you here. Under 9 for me as well. Chop, over under 9 wins. New England Patriots.
Oh, I'm going all in on the over here. Give me all in.
Okay. All right.
At the very worst, I'm going to push here. At the very worst, I'm going to push, I think. Assuming that we get some health here, stay healthy. But, man, I like what they did in the off. First of all, you're going to get back a bunch of defenders that didn't want to play last year because of COVID. So we got that working for them. You've just totally revamped the offense to work with Cam Newton now. You brought in the 2 big tight ends, and it's not going to be the throwback to Gronk and Hernandez, but it's 2 really solid tight ends to help him out. A little yard after catch action for those guys. And the offensive line is going to be okay. And I just think that they're in a pretty good position to 9-8. They'll finish 9-8 at the very worst. And then I think 10 wins is definitely doable here. So I'm going over here. I like the over quite a bit. I think this is a good team.
All right, let's stay in that division. Wrap that division up with the New York Jets. Number sitting at 6, Chop. A little bit of juice on the over here, minus 115. But wholesale changes here for the Jets. New coaching staff, bring in Salah from San Francisco. Adam Gase is now coaching a high school team right down the road from me in Michigan. So you go from the coach of the Jets, and I don't even think he's the head coach. I think he's an offensive coordinator, a quarterback's coach in Ypsilanti, Michigan. So quite the fall from grace. But the Jets also take Zach Wilson with the number 2 pick, bringing some other weapons on offense. The receiving core looks good. Can this team get it going quick enough, escaping the Adam Gase shadow, Chop, or is 6 a little bit too high here for the Jets?
I do like the head coach, an improvement for sure, but I'm still going under here. I mean, there wasn't like a huge upgrades in talent on the roster, and we're depending on more than likely a rookie quarterback, Zach Wilson, who there's some major question marks about to get you there. Yeah, man, I'm going to take the under, and if for no other reason, you can't go down the list and have everybody go over the total of their wins. You know, that doesn't work like that. Somebody's got to start losing. So I'm definitely thinking the Jets are, double-digit losses this year. So I'm going under.
I'm under as well. I think this is another one very similar to Jacksonville. I think they're doing things the right way. I just think it's going to take some time. It's not going to be an instant change. So I think you'll see a much improved team. That doesn't always translate into wins, though. So a 4 or 5 win team feels about right here for the Jets. So under for me here as well. Derek, over under 6 wins, New York Jets. What do you got?
Pretty sure I'm 12 of 12 or 13 of 13 so far. So this one's just a toss-up. I'll take the under because I can't bet all the overs.
Hey, you can't win them all, right? So, all right, moving on. Pittsburgh Steelers. Derek, number sitting at 8.5. A little bit of juice on the under at minus 115. So, Big Ben back for another season. They bring back Juju Smith-Schuster, so that receiving core is intact, and spend a high pick on Najee Harris to be the new workhorse in that backfield. So thoughts here. Pittsburgh number seems a little bit too low, but maybe Vegas is on to something. Over under 8.5. What do you got here for the Steelers?
Yeah, this is going to be an awesome team to target for DFS. You mentioned workhorse running back Najee Harris, and then we know Big Ben's not going to throw the ball down the field. So PPR sites, we're going to be able to target these receivers. But yeah, I mean, Steelers, they've been 500 or better every year since 2004. So 16 seasons. And they have to go under that for the under to hit. So I'll go one more year with the over.
I'm torn on this one as well. So, Chop, I'm going to go to you here. I'm leaning the under, but Derek brings up some good points here. This team always is good enough to win some games, but I'm leaning under. But I'm going to go to you. What do you got? Over under 8.5, Pittsburgh.
Man, I'm torn also because I want to like this team. I think the defense is good. I think it was good last year, and it's going to be good again. And I like some of the playmakers at wide receiver. I love the running back they got, but the problem is that the offensive line is going to be maybe one of the worst in the NFL. That's really going to come back and be huge as the season goes on. So as much as I want to like them, I think I'm going to take the under because the offensive line I think is going to be in shambles, and it's just going to make everything so difficult for them.
Yeah, it's not like Big Ben's the most mobile guy back there, and he goes down. We see what happens with this team. They just don't have a backup quarterback that can step in and fulfill all of these weapons. So that and some of Mike Tomlin's in-game coaching always concerns me a little bit. He gets a little bit more praise than I think he deserves, honestly. So I'm going to go with the under. I'm going to stick with my gut here and go under that number, even though it seems a little bit too low at 8.5. So our final team here in our team total look in the FanDuel Sportsbook for the AFC, the Tennessee Titans. Chop, hell of a season last year. Now bring in Julio Jones as well offensively. I think you're going to see this team involved in a lot of shootouts. That offense should be fantastic with A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Derrick Henry, and Ryan Tannehill playing some great football. Defensively, I think is a huge question mark with this Tennessee team. So number sitting at 9, minus 150 on the over, plus 125 on the under. Chop, wrap us up here, Tennessee. Over under, 9 wins.
Yeah, I'm going over. I think it's always a good, solid team regardless. The addition of Julio Jones makes them. I mentioned it, I think, last week. I think this is a great offensive team now. I mean, not good. This is great. These guys are going to be great. So the defense just has to hold serve. I think they can do that. I'm looking at, you look up and down their schedule, their division, and they're going to get let me see here. Yeah, they're going to get, I want to say, no offense to Derek here, but aren't they going to get 4 free wins out of Jacksonville and Houston?
They're starting with 4 wins.
So you got all that working for you. They just got to hold serve at home a few times, most of the time, and I think they can do that. Yeah, man. I think Julio is actually a pretty big upgrade for the best defense in the NFL this day is a good offense that can control the clock and keep the other guys off the field. They can do that week in and week out, especially when we get into December. I like Tennessee to go over that total.
I'm gonna steal a line from Chop here from last week. I'm gonna get real close to the mic, smashing the over here on the Tennessee Titans. This is my favorite of all of the teams that we've done, over or under. I love the over here. Now I don't like the juice. I wouldn't even mind it at 9.5 if I can get closer to -110 on it. This is a double-digit win team. I just don't see, unless injuries strike, and you can't bet that way. Worrying about injuries are going to happen. I want to smash the over on this Titans team. So, Chop, I believe it was the Saints for you last week. I just don't see it. 9-8. The Tennessee Titans, you're telling me, are not going to go better than 9-8. I find that very hard to believe with 2 games against Houston, 2 games against Jacksonville. As good as this offense is going to be, almost unstoppable at times. So, hammer the over here for the Tennessee Titans for me on this 9. Derek, wrap us up. Over under 9 wins, Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, to your guys' point, I was going to say they have to go 5-8, and they tie the 9-win total here because, the Jags, they let Henry run for 300 yards every time they face the Titans, and we know Houston's not going to put up much of a fight. So to wrap up today's picks, I had 10 overs, Chop, you had 9, Beer, you had 8. So we weren't completely fish in terms of just betting all the overs.
There we go. So Titans the play, though. Over 9, I'm telling you, feel real good about that one. But that will wrap us up here for our look at team totals here in the FanDuel Sportsbook. Make sure you get over there and support the sponsor of this show. We greatly appreciate them sponsoring us. And again, we're working on some stuff for you guys, the listeners, people that have been here, whether you just started joining us last week or you've been here throughout our entire run over the years. We're working on some free rolls over on FanDuel to reward you guys for listening. So again, if you like the show, the way to help us out, the way to say thank you is to leave reviews in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you are listening to this, on YouTube. Comment in the comment section, hit that like button, all that good stuff. So a little bit over an hour. Again, we want to keep these two right around an hour or less, a little bit overtime here. But guys, final thoughts for the people here in this second week of our return. Derek, let's go to you. What do you got here? Final thoughts.
Yeah, please leave us a review. As always, there are a lot of things you could be listening to. So thank you for listening to us each and every week. I'll send out our picks on Twitter if you want to watch how bad we are, track it during the regular season. And maybe I'll talk to the higher ups, see if we can get a contest going if everyone wants to make their own picks and send them my way. So I'll look into that.
There we go. I like it. Hey, we're not afraid to put our work out there. Let's be held accountable. So I like that idea. So we'll try to work that in as well. And again, anything you guys want to talk about, you want to hear, reach out to us, and we'll gladly mix it into the weekly mix here on the show. The show is here for you. I agree with Derek. A lot of choices out there for things you can listen to. Time is valuable. We appreciate you spending an hour with us each and every week. Chop, floor is yours, buddy. Final thoughts here for the people.
Yeah, accountability is key. People need more accountability these days. But we shouldn't sell ourselves short now. I won the football betting picks last year on the podcast, and this with a pretty good record. And then Beer came back in the NBA and smashed a really good record in the NBA. So we got a pretty good track record when we get one of us gets rolling here in a sport. You can piggyback off that, but we got the hard stuff out of the way, team totals, all that good stuff that we wanted to knock out. Now we're going to start getting, for these future episodes, I think we're going to get a little bit more personal here, get some good stories going, some good conversations, some good dad talk. So hit us up with whatever topic you want to talk about, man. We're ready to get. We can get away from sports a little bit too if you guys want to. That's what I'm looking forward to.
That's it, man. Talk some life, talk some dad, talk some, anything you guys want to hit on. So again, reach out to any of the three of us. Let us know what you want to hear here on the pod, and we'll make it happen. So that will wrap us up for this week. Thank you again for listening. Thank you again to the fine folks over at FanDuel for sponsoring the show. For Notorious, for HeadChopper, I am Beer saying salut. Best of luck in all of your contests, all of your betting this week. Enjoy the MLB All-Star Game. We'll be back next Wednesday with another show. Peace. We're out.